Crowdfunding is an increasing source of funding for creative projects, but a successful campaign is not always guaranteed. Joining me now is Tim Wright, who is an expert in crowd economy. Tim,
thank you.
Well, we like to think so. We get the best on XpoNorth Live.
Absolutely right.
And what is, give us a sort of base comparison here. How does Scotland compare to the rest of the UK in terms of crowdfunding?
Scotland's catching up very, very quickly. We at Twin Tangibles wrote the original Scottish crowdfunding report back in 2013, and back then Scotland accounted for about 1%, or a little less than 1% of the UK's total. Mm-hmm. We recently did a follow-up campaign, or follow-up project to find out what the status is now, and Scotland has gone about 4% of the UK crowdfunding economy. And so at a time when the UK is growing very, very rapidly, it means that Scotland is actually outstripping the rest of the UK. So it's a good story to tell.
Now, there's a little bit of snobbery, I think, about crowdfunding compared to traditional methods of funding. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a tendency for some people to see it as a little bit of a scam, a little bit easy, perhaps not proper funding, perhaps people are too influenced by the crowd, the mob as some people might see it. But in reality, that's largely based on misunderstanding what the notion of crowdfunding is about. Crowdfunding is about a lot more than simply money. It's about engaging people in a journey with you. It's taking people along with you. And it's not an easy thing to do. So to execute it well takes an awful lot of planning, courage, and an awful lot of listening to your crowd to make it effective. So I don't know why there is the snobbery. I think it's largely based on misunderstanding. And for a lot of emerging creatives, it's a very, very powerful source of funding. Perhaps the snobbery, if it exists in the creative community, might be from those that have received significant funding from other sources in the past. So maybe they don't like the competition.
What about the success rate? Should media practitioners bank on being able to fund their entire project through crowdfunding in the future?
Crowdfunding is rarely the sole source of finance for any project, but it can be very effective as part of a funding strategy. And part of the trick is to understand where it can deliver the maximum benefits for you, not only from a financial point of view, but all of the additional things like networking and communications and insight that can come out of it. But in terms of within a funding strategy, think about it and how it might lever in other types of funding, whether it is a softer form of funding, whether it is advanced funding. So there's lots and lots of different aspects that you can unpack with this. So if you're a filmmaker, are you doing it pre-production? Are you doing it post-production? Lots of ways to analyze it. But in terms of success rates are quite low. And there's about a 30% success rate, depending on which model that you explore.
Really?
But with a bit of coaching and a little bit of structure, you can drive that up to about 75%.
Well, Tim Wright of Twin Tangibles, thank you very much for coming to Expo Live North and or XpoNorth Live, which one of these other things. We've both had a very long day.
It's certainly live.
It's certainly live, isn't it? But thanks for joining us.
Not at all. Thank you.